Hi, my name is Nina Olson. I teach clarinet and bass clarinet here at MacPhail Center for Music. And today I'm talking about the MMEA All-State Audition Etude for Bass Clarinet from Set 1, written by Timothy Mahr of St. Olaf College. And there's a couple things I'd like you to think about your audition in general. One is that you can't win it by doing great scales, but you can lose it by doing bad scales. The scales are a requirement, and they're a fairly large percentage of the overall, so make sure you do those well. Practice your sight reading so that you don't feel nervous about it. I've found that my students who sight read well always come back and go, yeah, it's not so bad, and my students who aren't comfortable sight reading are always terrified by it. So just pull something out of the stack of music in your house or out of the stack of music in the band room every day and just try something new and get used to playing music correctly right away. I wanted to talk to you about preparing this etude. The first thing I would do is look through for all of the sharps and flats and make sure you're familiar with them all. When I was in high school, every time I saw a C flat, it took me a while to process the fact that that's actually a B. So I would write it in. I would just write the letter B. And in fact, there were pieces in college that I still had to do that, just because I played it faster if I wrote it down. So I did. And make sure you know the fingerings for all of the notes. If you don't, pull out your trusty fingering chart. And then there's some fingerings that have different choices, and I have put what I think works best on my copy of this music, and it's posted on our website. And I would say if you want to just copy mine and not make the choices, that's fine. But the thing about learning the right fingering is if you learn the wrong one and the right one and the wrong one and the right one, it takes you a long time to learn your passage. If you just learn them the first time, that saves a lot of time. The next thing, now you've looked through and made sure you know all the notes and you have fingerings written in, look for where there are familiar passages in here. If you will notice measure 14, 16, and 17, they are all chromatic scales. 14, 16, 17. So you're learning the chromatic scale anyway for this. If you look at that as a chromatic scale and think of the rhythm rather than A sharp, B, C, C sharp, it's going to go much faster. It flows better, it's easier to learn, it's easier to read. Read chromatic scale, 1 and a 2 and. So talking about rhythm brings me to the thing you need to do before you really play this piece, and that is figure out the rhythms. If you don't know a rhythm, write it in. Practice this rhythm sizzled. All the way through. It's kind of hard to sizzle the moderato. You might not work that out so well, but certain measures you can sizzle, like measure 22. That's one that needs practicing for sure. Measure 27, sorry, my glasses are a little dusty, but measure 27 is pretty easy to do. One big rhythm challenge comes between the moderato and the conspirato. The moderato has been at quarter equals 84. The conspirato is at dotted quarter equals 84. So where you've been going dee, da, 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 all of a sudden you need to go dee, da, 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 ba, da, 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 da. So make sure you get one and then into the other. Notice that conspirato is not in 6/8 all the time. It goes to 5/8 and then it goes to 7/8. At the end, it goes to 2/4 and 3/4, and although you could go from counting eighth note as the pulse to quarter note as the pulse, I wouldn't recommend it. I think you'll probably slow down at the end where you're not supposed to. So from measure 44, I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 off. That's how I would count those last three measures. To make sure that I didn't slow down through the quarter notes, don't rush them either, just play them correctly by counting. So that's the rhythm. And once you've figured out rhythm and you know the fingerings, you want to play it. This piece jumps all over the range. It goes from low to high and high to low, and I think that's part of what is hard on bass clarinet. It tends to want to grunt or squeak, or the high notes don't come out. And so you need to do some warm-ups regularly as you practice this piece, not just like, okay, 1 week or just the day of your audition. You need to do them between now and the time of the audition. I would start out with something really simple. as much as possible, I am not moving my jaw or my throat or my mouth or my air as I go from low to high. Then you need to do it articulated. And although I didn't do every note we can do, I would do every note you can do articulated. And so on. I think that exercise will go a long way towards helping you slur and tongue cleanly over these big leaps and skips in this piece. Have a good time practicing it, and here I'll play it for you.